quick correction from the last segment. This time I'm loading the Vancouver areas dataset from a different link, the topo.json file, and it looks like this, which is a set of arcs. The object is Vancouver area size. It is of type geometric collection, which is a set of geometric values, each of which is a polygon and has an arc array in it. So let's load this dataset and draw our first plot. Let's make a fixed dimension for the plot. Our data is Vancouver areas. We also need to mention a format. Which is of type topo.json, and the feature would be the name of the object. So Vancouver area size. We need to mention a projection as per the Vega Lite documentation. And as mentioned before, we will be using the marketer projection. Finally, as the mark, geoshape. So loading the values from the dataset Vancouver areas of type topo.json, the name of the object is the feature here. We're using the marketer projection and geoshape to draw the map of Vancouver. Let's also add an encoding to it. Let's fill based on a property of the dataset. So if we go up, if we look at the properties, there is a value called density. So we will use that as the field properties.density, which is of type quantitative and a title density. So we are filling each of the segments in the map based on the values of property density, and as the title for this color field, we're using density. Let's add one more line, a scale scheme being grays. This will convert it to grayscale. Inside the encoding, let's also add a stroke with value being black. This will add strokes to each of the segments in the map. Let's also add a tooltip. Again, inside encoding, forgot the comma again. Let the field be properties.name, so which is here. So every property has a name, and let the title be name. Let's add one more information in the tooltip. Let's put in the density as the title, population density. Now, if we hover over the map, we can see the name as well as density. Next, I'm stealing some code from somebody else to create Vancouver Crime 2, which is a filtered out version of the Vancouver Crime dataset that we loaded earlier. We did this to make our next objective or our lives easier. Now we just have the features that we're interested in instead of a GeoJSON file. Let's go back to our code and let's add layers to it. Let's put the first plot as the first layer. And another plot as the second layer. We will get our data from Vancouver Crime 2, which we just created. Our projection, just like before, will be of type marketer. As mark, we will use circles to mark on the plot we have right now. We will then start an encoding where we will have longitude and latitude this time. Each of which will have a field and a type. So the field for this would be this one, and the type is quantitative. Similarly for latitude, this will be this. And where am I getting these values? Well, if you go and look into the data set, here lat and long is what we're extracting from the Vancouver crime data set. The big data set, we're filtering that out. Coming back, let's this size to be 12. Since we're adding circles, we're mentioning how big we want the circles to be. Let's add a color field. We will add something more here. Let's color the field based on the field offense type, which is another attribute or dimension in the dataset. Let's keep the titles same as the offense type. Oops. And this is of type nominal. Let's also add a scale, which domain is going to be. So these are just information available in the dataset. I'm just grabbing them and filtering them out. And as the range, I'm choosing two different colors. I'll also add a tooltip, and I'm directly copy pasting the entire code because I'm sure you guys now know how to do this. A quick correction, this will be this. Let's run the code, and this is how the map looks like. So one layer is the map that we're extracting from the topo.json file. The other is not directly from the GeoJSON file, but the latitude and longitude that has been extracted from the GeoJSON file to Vancouver crimes. And we are putting a dot or a circle in each of those latitudes and longitudes. We also added tooltips for the map as well as the dots. Okay, so let's add one more plot to it, and we will use vconcat to do it. So we will concat two plots vertically. This is our first one. Let's put it inside vconcat. Let's align them properly. And let's go down here and add one more plot with width and height. Values coming from Vancouver Crime 2. This one will be a line chart. Let's add an encoding, and I'm quickly going through this one. And also a color, which is the same as this one. Let's also add a selection, which we named brush. It's an area selection of type or type interval. And let's see how the plot looks so far. So this is our plot where we can select. However, it doesn't filter the other map because we didn't connect them together yet. So let's do that. Inside Vancouver Crime 2, let's filter the data based on the brush we just created. Let's run this. Let's go back. And now we're filtering the data in the first plot based on the data that is being selected on the second one. Unfortunately, this map cannot still be zoomed in like we're used to in Google Maps or other map applications. So for that, in the next segment, I'll introduce leaflet plus D3.